ABSL Summit. Beyond Tomorrow. Building a Sustainable Future.
And now we have the new business case. How to accelerate analytical capabilities of an organization, innovative business models.
Let's welcome on the stage Yigit Karabag, the Regional Director, Customer Advisory at SAS CEMEA region.
Have fun and good luck.
It's bright. Hello, everyone. Before we start, I'd like to make a personal statement. My name is Yigit Karabag. I'm from Turkey, and back in the 80s, when we had the first batch of German tourists who would come to our beautiful towns in the south or to Istanbul, there would always be some TV reporter, like, pointing the microphone at them. What do you think about Turkey? And they would always say, Istanbul is great, kebab is so tasty, I will come again. So I would like to make the same statement here, like it's my first time in Gdansk. Although I've been to Poland many times, I'm definitely coming back again. It's a beautiful place. Thank you. So let's start with the topic itself. Today I'm going to talk about something that's a bit more narrowed down in terms of domain. Yesterday we heard the opening statement by the president of ABSL talking about resilience. Then in the panel we heard about resilience again. Now I want to talk about, as a representative of a company that's in the AI and analytics space for more than past 4 decades, talk about the power of data and analytics and how it changed and evolved when it comes to this resilience topic and being ready for the future. So I just want to start with a question to the audience. How much, or let's make it simple. Do you find it valuable, the ability to use data and analytics to manage your business more effectively? Do you believe in the power of analytics? Great, so almost everybody agrees. Another question. Do you believe that this power of analytics really helped when the pandemic hit and the whole story changed? How many of you believe that it really helped? Much less, right? And this is the discussion for today. So let's take a look at the evolution of analytics. Analytics is a very mature practice today. For the past more than 100 years, there were lots of advancements in the area of information theory, mathematics, computing technology, power, that brought us to a very deep state of cognitive computing. We used to do descriptive analytics. Everybody had their reports looking at what's happening in their business. Then we evolved to start predicting things, forecasting things, and it became a really mature process. And when the pandemic hit, we had this deep level. You see this guy swimming in the depths looking at the cognitive computing. We started talking about artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and everything was great. But these systems, these practices were built for a known world with decades of accumulated data. So banks knew how customers behaved, loan holders behaved when it comes to paying back their credit card bills or their personal loans. Telecommunications operators knew how the consumers behaved at home, when they're at work, what were their usage patterns of their services. Same for insurers, same for retailers, and etc. But then the pandemic hit, and it changed the whole game. Banks no longer knew who would be able to pay back their loans. Retailers no longer knew who would be able to come to their stores or move to a digital or demand a digital channel. Insurers no longer knew. Communications providers thought that people would be using a different kind of service, but now everybody's at home, and the only guy happy is Netflix and its likes about this. So everything changed, right? This opened up a question on the value of analytics. Is this really valuable? Why didn't it help? Why couldn't we move fast enough? You've seen in the answers, even in this smaller audience, that there's a big discrepancy between believing that analytics can help in general for the business, but the reality when the whole game changes, when there's a macro impact. So what happened was it opened up a discussion about how do we get more value out of analytics, right? How do we get more value of our data? And I believe that this is a golden opportunity now to relook at analytics as a business function and see what can be different. And I'm talking regardless of industry, regardless of the business function. It could be financial area, customer service, product design, pricing, supply chain, doesn't matter, right? So let's unpack these issues, right? One is the pandemic, but we should read pandemic as anything that's unforeseen, anything that impacts the rules at a macro level. Today it may be one pandemic, tomorrow it could be a geopolitical situation. Day after it could be a totally different market regulation that changes the whole game, or some disruption from a startup concept, right? So let's unpack this impact on the pandemic or the unforeseen. There are certain things that are terribly required to remedy these unforeseen cases. The first one, you heard this many times over the past 2 days already, resilience. But resilience as a word is not enough when you talk about a practice of using your data effectively. We need to unpack that further, but we will come back to that. The second part, the value of analytics, is also open to impact discussion. And now we see more and more organizations talking about how to bring innovation into the organization through the use of data, through the use of analytics, but also be able to look at the business impact of it. Because we have seen that it's not enough that the genius in the corner created a great algorithm that predicts whatever is going to happen in the next 3 months, unless you really see a business impact, unless it moves the needle. So these are things that are open to discussion now. Let's go back to the resilience. Resilience is made up of many things, but let's look at some of the key elements of that. First one is agility, and we heard it in the previous panel as well. Agility is really important. So it's not about what kind of analytical outcomes, insights that you generate, but how fast you're able to get there, as we have seen in the pandemic. Because if you're going to tell somebody who has to close down their shops, who has to move customers from one channel to a digital channel, one thing they don't have in a time like this is the actual time it takes to do this. They don't have that, right? The second thing is capacity building. Poland is a powerhouse when it comes to talent, right? There are lots of great talent, very well educated, especially in the area of data science. We have seen lots of big names opening up their shared service centers here, center of excellences here, because there's great human capital. But that also puts other businesses at risk all the time, because this talent is very fluid. They like to work on challenges that they find exciting. If they don't find it exciting, they move on, right? So let me give you a hint. Banks are not so attractive anymore. Nobody wants to work for banks anymore, but banks need analytics. Telcos are a bit more exciting, but again, the startup which just opened shop with 3 people next door, working on some image recognition to do great things in the retail world, is much more exciting. So capacity building has become a very difficult task. The organizations no longer have years of building the capacity, training, upskilling people, because these people move around. So it has to be very effective. Another thing that's related to capacity building is, because of this fluidity, because of this fast-moving talent, the need to build an organizational memory becomes really critical. We no longer have the luxury of onboarding people, taking our time, right? In a world where everybody is moving, you need to have a platform that you can jump on. When somebody walks into the door, they have to start producing value immediately. And this is also very important for the resilience of the analytics function. So this is one side of the equation. Now let's look at the innovation and the actual business impact side. One thing that's really critical, and you can read many reports from the likes of Gartners and Forresters on this, is the last mile analytics, as the industry calls them. Meaning that you have a great idea, you know how to use your data, you build analytical models, it will tell you what will be the needs of your supply chain or your customers or your products, whatever channel we're talking about. it's great, but you need to actuate that. You need to deploy that. You need to really make it work. And people in the room who are in the world of operations, they know how difficult it is to operationalize things. Let's take a retailer working on a great algorithm based on machine learning, deep learning, to do great pricing, dynamic pricing for the products. Now you need to take it to the store or to the digital channel. That's the difficult part. The analytics is not difficult anymore. We have the technology, we have the smart people, it works. But how do you make it happen? How do you make sure that it is actually deployed and it gives you the profit margins, it gives you the revenue, it gives you the uplift that you need? This is really, really critical. And post-pandemic, we are seeing more and more enterprise customers looking at the last mile analytics because they are really questioning, okay, you're a smart guy, you built a great analytics system, but is it really giving me the profit? Is it really giving me the revenue? Let me measure that. Which brings us to the area of innovation as well. More and more we find that developments in different industries have impact on each other. Let's take the example of Uber. Before Uber, nobody questioned the taxi company. Everybody was okay to make a phone call and wait for 30 minutes. Uber comes and nobody has more than 5 minutes of patience, right? Let's take another example, Airbnb. Now you can rent a flat anywhere around the world. Before that, you were totally okay to go through travel agencies, talk to 10 different people, have hours of phone conversations, and then walk into a place that you have no idea about. That was the norm. But then comes Airbnb, and all of a sudden our expectations are through the roof. It is the same when it comes to the innovation analytics. Organizations need more and more ideas from outside as well as inside in conjunction. So when it comes to getting the ideas from outside, this whole capacity building, making sure that you have the right injection of talent in and out, becomes a practice on its own. It's a muscle that needs to be developed, right? Because people from other industries, and then let's open a parenthesis here, also from other functions working together within the same enterprise, have great potential to bring innovation, and this is really important to be injected. The internal part, fostering the innovation, is one of the big challenges of the organizations, and it is something that needs to be applied to an analytics function as well. But you cannot just bring everybody into the world of analytics. Not everybody is a mathematician. I'm not a mathematician. I sure talk like I know what I'm talking about, but trust me, I have no idea. So but I know a lot of smart people working for me, and they tell me that this thing works. So it's the same for most of us. We are not mathematicians. We don't know how to build these econometrics models, predictive models, etc. But there has to be a way that our ideas, our hypotheses could be put into the business, right? Because people who work hands-on on different aspects of business, they have ideas. What they don't have is the scientific methodology and the tools to actually test those ideas and make sure that they really make sense or not. So you need a bridge between the organization, and this is what the industry analysts call democratization of analytics. You need a bridge between regular people like me and the smart analytics people to test their ideas very fast. This is also something very important. Last but not least, and this has become a big dilemma, over the past, let's say, 8 to 10 years, we have seen a big hype on artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, deep learning. We can do everything. But just like anything else in the business world, whatever is done in this space has to be governed by value, by the actual value it delivers. I built a predictive model with 99% accuracy. It will tell you if this customer will accept this offer, is not a value measurement. It's just a measurement of the performance of a technical aspect of a model. The real measurement is, once we deploy this, how much extra revenue we generated, how much extra customer satisfaction, how much extra cost reduction internally that we were able to achieve. These are the real value elements, and the gap between the smart data science world and the boring business KPIs have to be closed at some point. And this is something that we have seen as well. So overall, what I'm trying to say is, today, everybody, regardless of the industry that you come from, have some sort of an analytics function. You have the smart guys in the room. They are doing the analysis for you. But it's not anymore about what they are doing. It's about how they are doing. Because in this fast-changing world, with such magnitude of unforeseen impacts, such as COVID-19, we need to look at how we do things from now on. What is figured out? We have all the smart people, we have all the smart technology. How is the part that we need to look at? It needs to be resilient. To be resilient, it needs to be fast. It needs to have the minimum level of skill set to be onboarded, a person to be onboarded into the system. It shouldn't have such overheads to bring new people. That's one of the big things. And it needs to be innovative, and it needs to be governed by value. So, as a let's say remedy, a suggested remedy, one of the areas that we need to look at, and this is what we discuss with most of our enterprise clients, executives right now, is analytics has to become a standardized platform. It cannot be a bunch of tools, technologies that is bought by people who love playing with technology. I need to standardize on things because talents change, and when they come, they need to have that platform to jump on. Second, we need to look at the whole analytics function as if it's a center of excellence, as a business function on its own, rather than a distributed individual, let's say, side function of a major domain. Of course, there will always be people needed in the lines of businesses who are smart, who are doing analysis, but for the innovation to be fostered, for the prioritizations to be done right, and the capacity to be built, we need to look at a center of excellence. And this is what we discuss with many of our clients, regardless of it's Poland, it's Turkey, it's Middle East, or it's some other European country. This is the experience. Let's take a look at it. And this is the last bit of my presentation. When you look at some of the traditional domains that every company is so interested in, it's like customer analytics. Everybody are obsessed with their customers. How they engage with their customers, running campaigns, marketing, this is really important. Then they look at the analytics platform to do many things. Could be supply chain optimization, forecasting of demand, adjusting pricing, like they need these highly sophisticated analytics platform. And finally, more and more we see decisioning as a topic that's emerging as part of the AI revolution, because the debate is how much of the decision-making is going to be left to the machine and how it will be governed. There is no debate about whether it's required. It is required, but what should be delegated and what should be left with humans is what we are working on, depending on the industry, depending on the regulation. The typical approach of how companies approach these topics is they do these projects separately. They have a RFP for customer analytics, they have an RFP for campaign management, another one to choose an analytics platform, and all of these needs to be integrated and executed separately. It's a very costly thing. It has a lot of overhead. Plus, it has a lot of redundancy, because at the end of the day, all of these topics, they use the same things. There is some kind of data management, because you need to collect and manage your data. It's important. Everything starts with data. There is this fancy AI that needs to do your analytics bit, regardless of the topic. And you need to make some decisioning, and you need to govern this whole process. So why do these things have to be treated separately? Why can't it be a shared service where you have the capacity built and where you have the ability to churn out resources and skills in a very effective way in this fast-moving world, right? This is the first question, and this is where the benefit of platform, because this gives you greater ROI and greater time to market, time to value. The second thing is the center of excellence. So this platform is just the jumping board, as I said. What you need is to put something on this platform that will govern the whole process with its own operating model. So there has to be, analytics has to be treated as a business function, as a transformative business function, where you have an advisory board that looks at things from the perspective of use case management, because there are a billion ideas out there. There are image recognition related things, there are customer analytics related things, better digital engagement, there are so many things. How do you prioritize them? You have to apply modern things like design thinking when it comes to define those use cases and challenge them if they really bring value, and you need to look at the value. And of course, these challenges will be met with constraints when it comes to developing a solution. Can it be really done? This is where you need the smart guys. And again, smart guys cannot be only the guys inside the organization. They have to come from outside as well. And this is where partnerships with third parties, practitioners of analytics, companies like SAS or others, for the sake of this conversation, they have to be part of the center of excellence. There has to be a collaboration between organization and the outside world in this place. And when it comes to the deployment, this is a topic on its own. There has to be a lean production idea, just like in manufacturing. You have to apply lean methodologies when it comes to deploying your analytics. Because pandemic hits, you don't know what the customer is going to behave like. You have no data from the previous years about this kind of situation. Now you have to do something with 3 months of behavioral information. And you don't have another month to build this thing. You just have to build it as you go along, and you have to go lean to put this in deployment to really make use of analytics in the unforeseeable world of tomorrow. So this is really, really critical. On the cost side, now, the traditional approach of paying for software, integration, executing it, project management, and then expecting incremental benefits over time, this is a very outdated approach. We need to look at it as a shared service. We need to have the standard costs, standard mechanism, standard platform that you know what you're paying for, but it delivers incremental value. Why? Because you are reusing a lot of the assets. In the previous panel, we heard about reusing some of the physical artifacts. It's no different in the world of analytics. In today's world, there are many different people in different parts of the organization doing the same thing over and over again, doing similar analysis for different problems. This has to be consolidated, and this will be definitely the operating model of tomorrow when it comes to running analytics as a business. Thank you very much, and apologies if I'm a bit over time.
Resilience, maturity, talents, growth, innovation. The change made us stronger. This all made us sustainable. ABSL Summit. Beyond tomorrow. Building a sustainable future.